up, I'm all covered. Good to see you, Ryan.
Hey, it's been so long.
I know. The hours feel like days.
All right, let me get into it. Welcome to Comics in the Making. My name is Ryan Holgerson. I'm the creator of Slackmatic, and I'm joined, as always, by Levi Erickson, the creator of The Big. Levi, how is it going?
Well, it's going good, but it's a little of both. It's a little of both this week, and we'll get into that here in a second.
Yeah. First off, let's talk about the weather. Uh,
It got cold again.
it's a little chilly. It's going to be in the high 70s this week, though.
Yeah, but
Um,
today it's gonna be in the high 50s.
today it is a beautiful sunny spring day on the worst day of the year. Daylight savings, lost an hour of sleep. I woke up. I had no idea, completely forgot, and woke up and was like, "Oh my God, I slept for like 9 hours." And no,
No.
so I didn't. I didn't. Although I'm still pretty happy with the 8 hours that I got. So no
Yeah.
complaints. It's a rarity. I was exhausted. And here's why I was exhausted. This is we're recording this on March 10th, Mario Day, um, the day after Matthews ComiCon.
Yeah.
And so yesterday we tabled there. Uh, it was a good show. I had a lot of fun. We talked about on previous episodes how this is a more of a festival
Hmm.
atmosphere. And I'm glad I said that because I still, that was my impression as a walking around it last year and walking around it this year. Yeah, that's what it was, and they have it kind of interconnected between several buildings at the Matthews, what is it, town center or whatever
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
recreation center, whatever. It's like a big
Yeah. And
multi-use kind of area for the town.
yeah. And they had vendors outside, they had vendors inside, they had a whole building just for the artists. Um, Cosplay wrestling, which I enjoyed way more than I thought I was going to. Absolutely amazing. Uh, and yeah, no, it was just a very, kind of festival kind of feel to it. Versus what I think of, or I think what most people think of as a comic convention. Um,
Yeah.
and I think the cool thing about this is one it's free,
Yes.
and so it brings in people that might not normally be going to a comic book convention and putting money down for that. Um,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so it's the second one the city of Matthews has done. This has been facilitated by a few people and a few entities. The first one last year, it was, you know, so to give you an idea of what we're talking about with the city of Matthews, North Carolina, it's a suburb of Charlotte. It is basically at 6 o'clock of the 485 interstate like belt loop that encircles the greater Mecklenburg County. So it's basically at about 6 o'clock, if that's a circle, what like a watch.
yeah,
And it's definitely got a small town vibe. The old school small town downtown. So there's always a lot
yeah,
of
that
stuff.
part.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
always stuff going on in Matthews on Saturday morning, regardless of
Oh yeah.
if it's some kind of planned event. There's farmers markets and just cool things to do. So the Carolina Beer Temple, and they have a satellite kind of spot called Temple's Edge right next door. The beer temple's a poorhouse, as you can imagine. It's craft beer service and cool place to hang out. Temple's Edge is a with a partnership with Rebel Base Comics here in Charlotte. They've got comics, they've got back issues, they've got a subscription service and a few new issues, lots of collectibles, lots of gaming stuff, games you can grab and just play. There's D&D that's there, there's Magic that's there. Sketch Charlotte, every Thursday around 6 o'clock, meets there. And once again, you can get your beverages there, your bottles, your cans, sodas, whatever. So it's a cool place. So they kind of got this thing going. And if I'm forgetting anyone else involved in making this happen, forgive me. City of Matthews jumped on it and facilitated a lot to make the event happen. So last year was a great success. This year was even better. Um, the impression that I'm getting just having attended was that it was really good. Personally, I had a pretty good day as a an artist with my books. But watching the foot traffic, watching the interest, and the constant flow of people between the two buildings where all the vendors were set up, food trucks, the wrestling ring, uh, the car, like a little car show. So like a Camaro, Bumblebee Camaro was there, Herbie the Love Bug, Jurassic Park, the truck, that the T-Rex attacks, one of those was there, other vehicles, and it was raining all day.
Yeah.
And it was still that didn't thwart people at all.
Oh, yeah. No, and I was going to mention that you know, uh boy, I hope, and it's already been announced they're doing it next year. I hope next year we've got a nice, beautiful, sunny spring day, because just imagine what that would bring in with that. And I guess that's kind of up to nature. So who
Yeah.
knows? But I mean, just with the rain, it was so weird. We were all in this little room. There were two rooms for artists, and they were interconnected, and so people would kind of go around in a circle or whatever. But it was like the people would just come in waves, where there'd be absolutely nobody in the room except for the artist. And it would get real quiet. And then 2 seconds later, there'd be a whole nother wave of people. And they'd go through the room, and then really quiet, and then wave of people. And dude, my body was killing me yesterday. Uh just from, I'd go, oh well, I can sit down now, and I'd sit down, and then there'd be four people in front of my table, and I'd be like, son of a bitch. And then I'd be right back up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But sales were okay. I not my best show ever, not even remotely my worst. Definitely definitely happy with what I did yesterday. For sure. There was no crying home, oh my God, this was a waste of time. Lots of Had a blast, still good monetarily. Um,
Yeah.
and I can't wait for next year. I hope this continues to grow. I think we should mention Herc.
Yeah, definitely got to
Herc,
mention Herc.
Herc had a lot to do with curating the artists there. I Herc, I love you. Uh, the greatest guy in the world. I loved watching him run around making sure everybody was okay, and it was fine. I think he was.
Oh yeah.
I think he was really nervous with the rain, that people weren't going to come and they weren't spending money or whatever. And uh,
Yeah.
but
And see, and that's where his mind is, because there were
it
artists from
wasn't on him, and it was on the other people, which is just, yeah.
yeah, the artists from Atlanta, he said,
Mhm.
hey, I'll come up to this event, Charleston, Athens, Georgia, and
Yeah,
he's all like, come up for this event, and other people, other places as well, and he's just, he's a great den mother, in that sense.
yeah, he
And
is.
he
Yeah,
he runs Sketch Charlotte, and it's kind of the same kind of dynamic. He wants to make sure everyone's good, and
yeah,
his energy is so, so high, for you,
yeah,
as far as making sure you're good and you got, the things, and you're happy and you're enjoying the show and stuff. And
yeah,
at the same time, trying to run his own table and sell, you know, his body work, which is immense in
yeah,
itself. So, definitely hats off to her. And let me also mention Christopher Trester over at the Carolina Beer Temple. Um, because he's like coordinating, he's everywhere. You can't miss him. If you're at the temple just going to get a beer, or the event like this, you're gonna know who Christopher is. You can't miss him. He's always dressed to impress.
Yeah.
That's just, on the surface level.
But he
And
was every dude, I swear to God, every time I walked somewhere or turned around, there he was. He
yep.
was all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's the same kind of thing, making sure everyone's got what they need, and you know, being concerned. And I'm over here going, man, you invited us here. I'm glad to be here. And I'm having the time of my life just being around these other creatives, the people in our room and then the room next door. Met some new friends,
Yeah.
and became aware of some really awesome stuff that's out there. And we can, I got a stack over here of things that I got
Yep.
that, I can show off. And what was cool on my end, because that's when I dropped issue number one of the big. That was the day. Yesterday was when this book has officially been released. I made it available to the people at that show. It's not up on Etsy yet, and the Kickstarter is forthcoming, but I wanted to have that book available. Um, and people were excited. I had two people that came back because they got the mini preview, and they were hoping I had the issue. They're hoping I had, you know, issue two ready, and which is still in process. So that was fun. That was
Yeah.
real fun. And some of my buddies from work swung by with their families, and some members of the band came by. A lot of just a lot of friends just enjoying the time. And it grade A event, and I think
Yeah.
next year's gonna be a sunny day.
Yeah.
It'll be a sunny day. I've already made that call.
We'll just put it out there now. It's
March
gonna
8th,
be March.
2025.
Yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful sunny day. Everything's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So no, that
Yeah.
was it. It was a great time. We had a blast. You know what? I know I went into this. Maybe we should have ended with the positive, but
No, yeah,
so
I thought we were.
I know. I just, you know what?
But we're so happy and jazzed about it that
I
we can't shut.
I I segued and was like, I just got to keep going with the segue,
Yeah.
and so I just went right into it. So, um, but let's get a little sad now. Well, not
Okay.
a little sad. Let's get sad
No, yeah.
now. Uh, it was announced this past week that Sensei Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump, Sandland, had passed away. He actually passed away. I read into it. It was actually March 1st, and I guess they waited till the family had their um, the funeral and stuff like that to actually announce it. But just a huge uh, loss for the comics medium, in my opinion, and I
Yeah.
judging from the outpouring from so many people, just somebody else. This is an artist that has just touched so many people. I mean, you can't go out in the public in America without seeing a goddamn Dragon Ball shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. You see it on stickers, you see it on shirts. The influence that he's had in pop culture is just immense. And then just talk about also video game design. He designed all the characters for Dragon Quest. He did all the design work on the Chrono Trigger games. Um, so just a huge influence. And so what I wanted to talk about with him, actually, I have two little pieces where, and I was telling Levi earlier, this kind of was in my subconscious, and I hadn't realized how much he had influenced me. Um, but full disclosure, I'm actually not a huge Dragon Ball fan. I kind of like the original series, but Dragon Ball Z just kind of drove me crazy, and I didn't get into it like everybody else. it's hard for me to watch a TV show where it's literally 20 minutes of, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna do this, and then there's like 5 minutes of punching, and then it's the next episode. Um, so I've always appreciated his style and stuff like that, but I just never got into Dragon Ball too much. But I had his entire Dr. Slump series, and I've got some other stuff that I'm gonna show off here. Um, but anyway, my first real interaction with him as an artist, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and we were in a used bookstore. I was probably 16, 17 at the time, and I found two or three uh Dragon Ball, like original Dragon Ball series tankobons. Like not, these weren't these were the actual Japanese tankobons. And I snatched them up. I knew it was Dragon Ball because at that time Dragon Ball was being released on extremely expensive VHS tapes for like 2 or 3 episodes for just to date us, all you people that get to appreciate anime for dirt cheap now. It was not like that in the 90s. You paid $30 for 3 episodes. It was ridiculous. Um, and manga had, I think maybe Dragon Ball had been released a little bit, maybe in like comic pamphlet form at that time, but it really wasn't the hit that it is now. And but I found these tankobons, and of course I couldn't read it or anything, but I poured over that artwork. I was like, oh my God, I loved it. The design, I mean, an actual just the way the tankobon was, this small little book on this newsprint was just I just ate it up. And I don't know what happened to those books. I don't have them anymore. Um, but I really internalized a lot of that uh artwork into my stuff. I love You see that a lot in manga of these really cartoony characters, and then these like real rich detailed backgrounds and stuff. And Toriyama uh did a really great job at that. So that's kind of that was my first real like interaction with seeing his stuff. Since then, of course, I went and I had some of the Dragon Ball series. I said I had the whole series of Dr. Slump, which was his first major manga series. And recently, and I think I talked about this in the manga episode, but not this story specifically. I picked up his manga theater,
Yeah.
which this is a oh my God, like uh over 600 page book. Um, I don't think it's super hard to find, but it's just random short stories from him, going from before he was a like household name all the way past Dragon Ball Z and Sandland and stuff like that. So you get just the ultimate range of Akira Toriyama in here.
Yeah.
And the story that I wanted to talk about is this story called Taxi Driver Royd. I want to make sure. Oh no, well, no. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Pola and Royd. Pola and Royd. Get it? Polaroid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he did this story for a I believe it was like a manga contest. And what they would do is they would have mangaka do these special stories. Like I think this is, let's see, 98. So this is like 40 some pages of story. They would have the mangaka do these stories for contests, and then people would vote and stuff on like what was the best story from this issue or whatever. And he ended up winning for that year with this story. And but he was already working on I think Dr. Slump or something like that. So he was finding time, already doing a regular weekly manga to fit in this 40 some page story to put in for this contest. And so what he did was, this whole story is drawn with one pen, and it's just a sign pen, which I don't think we really call them sign pens here, but a sign pen is that's what they call it in Japan. Um, it's literally it's not a ballpoint pen, but more like a uniball
Yeah.
pen or whatever like that, you know. And I think it's called a sign pen because you sign your signature with it.
Right.
And he did the entire story just in that pen. Not G pens, not the Maru pen or anything else, just this regular pen that you could go buy at a Office Depot.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it's one of those examples of, it's not the tool, it's the artist. He took this
It is.
incredibly cheap thing, and his whole reasoning behind it was, I don't have time to fuck around with these other tools. I'm gonna use this tool to draw with. And so this was a huge recent influence for me towards the end of last year, because I read this story and I loved how he drew these characters. I almost prefer this inking style to some of his other stuff, because it's just so fast, and it's just about getting it done. And so I took that to doing what I'm doing now with my weekly series, where I only use, with very few exceptions, I only use one pen or
Yeah.
brush size in Clip Studio, because I was like, he did that for speed, so he didn't have to think about it. It was all, I'm taking the decision making out. I'm just gonna fucking draw. And that's what I'm doing with my comics is, okay, this is it. I don't have to think about, like, what brush do I want to use? I know what brush I'm going to use, and that's what I'm using, and I just start drawing. And I had I quite honestly had forgotten that that was the inspiration uh for, at least, the tool side of what I'm doing right now. That was the inspiration for that. Um, but I highly recommend, I mean, any of Toriyama stuff I recommend. It's so fun to look at. I mean, his vehicles that he creates are just like, and that's part of the fun, is having these just like super cartoony characters in this vehicle that's like, you fucking designed that. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, just wheels and guns and just like
Like tech
like
everywhere
tech
and
everywhere. But he's still, and what's crazy is he's still able to, I think when you look at a lot of manga, it almost, the it's clearer to see where the like sensei assistant division is. Like, you can look at a lot of manga and say, well, he definitely did the characters, and then he hired, an
yeah.
assistant came in and did all the backgrounds. You can see that. It's and from my understanding, Toriyama did use assistants, but they were minimal. They were, make one to two assistants. And in this story I'm talking about, I don't think he actually used any assistants. I think it's all him. And but even when he was, you can look at the backgrounds, you can look at that tech. It's still Toriyama. Like, it's not like, let's get this genius engineer guy in here to draw these spaceships. It's still him. And it's even though the backgrounds are lush and everything, they're still um they
Yeah.
meld together, like it's anyway. I can't gush enough. Like I said, any of Toriyama stuff, go pick up. But I do really recommend the manga theater, just because it has such a wide variety of looks and stories. Um, and the other awesome thing is, he, at the end of every story, he'll write a little paragraph about it. I mean, that's how I knew everything about that story. It's straight from him writing about it in this book.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, again, huge loss. This isn't our first, and I know it won't be our last. RIP episode where we're talking about somebody.
Yeah.
Um, but man, this this just it sucks. It
Yep.
sucks, and he was in his. I mean, he wasn't even 70.
Right.
Um,
Right. I mean, and that's too young. That is far too young, and it's far too common. Um,
right.
so he gave us all a great gift, and that's his body of work. And enjoy it as a fan, learn from it as a maker, keep the legacy going, and parts of that will live on forever. I mean, I may be sounding corny right now, but that's the truth of the matter, and that's how you approach these situations. I think that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I was thinking about this too. Uh, uh, Not to put you on the spot, Levi. It's not really putting you on the spot, but Levi doesn't read as much manga like I do.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Yeah.
and I had seen the post about Toriyama uh the night before or whatever, but I woke up that morning to a message from you saying RIP Akira Toriyama. So for someone who's, not as influenced and doesn't read as much as that stuff, Levi was it hit you,
No. Yeah.
you
I
knew
mean,
you.
well, I mean, I don't think there's any argument that his work, Dragon Ball Z especially, is certainly the largest Japanese media, um, uh, global.
Yeah,
And it may be even bigger than anything our comic book publishers, have to offer. I mean, Dragon Ball Z globally may eclipse Superman or Spider-Man, you
yeah,
know, in much the way that soccer eclipses any of our American sports globally,
right.
because,
Well,
so I mean, it's just, you got to get out of your like ethnocentric, bubble and understand the greater world and what the greater world's doing. I mean, we talked about last episode, manga is being presented by McDonald, through
yeah,
McDonald, here in the States. Um, they pushed past the old the old guard of American, iconography, and said, this is what's up. This is what we needed to do to market our stuff. Dragon Ball Z, you know, 100% is the same kind of situation. The reach is there. It reached me, in the 90s, and I wasn't even looking for it.
well, and also just to mention Dragon Ball Z, I think now we look at that, like I was mentioning, the 5 minutes of fighting in a in a 20-minute episode or whatever, and the I'm gonna use this attack and I'm gonna do this. Um, so now we look at that and we're kind of like, especially maybe a younger audience who has been growing up with the newer fighting manga, like, well, even Bleach is older now. I was gonna say Bleach, but Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen, the things like that, which are these shonen fighting mangas. Um, they don't exist without Dragon Ball Z. That's the thing about, you did have, I think Fist of the North Star is probably, I mean, shit, that's, I'd have to research it, and I probably should have. But we don't research anything. Uh, Fist of the North Star is a fighting manga. Um, but that was either hand in hand with Dragon Ball Z or maybe just a little pre-Dragon Ball Z. But even then, those two series combined, that's where you get the Shonen Jump
Yeah.
formula for these fighting manga. They did not exist in that form before that. And what little they did exist, they were Dragon Ball changed everything.
Mhm.
And that was now that's the for better or good, now that's the that's the formula that these other mangaka are like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. You know, they're gonna get these powers and they're gonna evolve
Mhm.
and get stronger and stuff like that. You don't get that. It's all Toriyama. You do not
Yeah,
get that without him. And so just yeah, I don't know. You just that alone is just amazing.
yeah,
And yeah, um uh his gift to the world, that was, that was it. I can't, yeah, I can't,
100%.
gonna keep gushing, but it's literally just gonna be us gushing. So
R.I.P. to one of the greatest of the greats.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Um, so Levi, do you have anything else for this week?
um,
We've got a little bit of time.
okay, sure. I have a little stack next to me. I just
Yeah.
want, I feel bad, like I might be leaving some of the creators at Matthews ComiCon out, but I just want to, kind of present some of the things that I got and some of the people that we met. I'll start with Adam Casey, and I'm not really sure where he's from. Real cool guy and with some really cool ideas. The first thing that caught my mind was his banner. Did you see that banner that he had? Because he was just right in the next room through the door, the first table on your right. Um,
No.
so his banner was, in one of those, floor retractable.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of, I fixed mine last night.
Oh, good.
Um, so we've all seen these banners about 6 feet tall, whatever. It was white, and then in the top, kind of justified to the left, it said Adam Casey JPEG, JPEG.
Uh-huh.
And
Huh.
I'm not sure what font, just a nondescript font.
Yeah.
Probably what defaults to um, your operating
Yeah.
system. And that was it.
Yeah. That was
That
it.
was it.
Oh, man.
And
Well, I
so
don't know what that says that I missed it. I don't know. I don't
it's the first thing I
Adam,
saw. You never even
I
thought.
don't know if it's working since I missed it, but it's fucking hilarious. I love
I
it.
love
It's
it. So he
great.
did the last 2 years. He's so I got this copy 2022. He did 26 shows in 33 days.
Wow.
And this is a diary of that. There he is right there. My hands on it.
Yeah.
Really great guy, really great artist. That's kind of the scope of where he went. And you know, it really is a diary where he was, where he stopped for gas, what time it
Oh,
was,
that's great.
what snacks he got, um, when he left the convention.
Oh
I
man.
mean,
I wish I'd gotten that. I love reading stuff like
this is
that.
so
Damn
cool.
it.
And
You're
also
have to I'll have to order it.
this little handy dandy guide about setting up for a convention.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I kind of thumbed through it yesterday a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to sitting down and just reading this. And it's not like a definitive, you must do this to be successful at a thing. He's not doing that at all.
Yeah.
But these are, I mean, this is what's in it,
Right.
you know.
I
And so
think that's good.
Adam Casey, I believe he's at Adam Casey on Instagram. Um, he's in Winston-Salem, looks like. Yep,
Okay.
at Adam Casey. So check check him out. Um, Across from us, Joey Weiser had a great body of work, a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah.
The thing that attracted me is the littlest fighter, and this is a kaiju who's basically very very small and wants to fight the big monsters.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm
Oh,
looking
it's
I'm looking
great.
forward to checking that one out. And big body of work from him. Um, a couple artists from Atlanta that we met that were in the other room. Um, this is the artist Ramza was there, and this is the issue number 2 of Fates. She was out of issue number 1. But what's cool is, you know, maybe I shouldn't show it, but there's a code that you can scan and you can get you can read the first issue on the web. So it looks like it's a kind of a fantasy story, black and white comic. A lot of cool landscapes and everything.
Sweet.
Crazy monster. It looks like it's the generation of this crazy snake monster looking thing coming through, and that's gonna be a fun read. And all throughout the day, I got little hints of people like pointing to the other room and saying, "Yeah, they saw my Bigfoot comic book, and like, there's a Yeti comic book in there." And I didn't really make it in there at that point to really see anybody. And the next thing I know, this girl standing in front of me and she's looking at my stuff and she's like, "I've got the Yeti comic in the other room." So, we struck up a conversation. So she does Yeti or not. And this has been out for a while. This is the third printing, and originally printed in 2019. But it's a Yeti hunter and all the stuff that this character is doing. And what I really thumbing through this, what really like got me, besides just being the subject matter that I like, um, and at the end of her book, she's got this little process section with
Oh, that's great.
nails and samples of the script and things like that in there. And I love those touches. I love those
Me too.
touches. I put a little sketchbook page in my book just because those are fun things. And just to wrap up, our good friend here locally, Henry, if you're not following him on Instagram, you got to do it. Wait, before I get ahead, this is Amanda Yeti or Nots by Amanda Semler. So that's at Amanda Semler Art, Yeti or Not. Our good friend Henry, and if you're not following this werewolf story on Instagram, you're missing out on probably the best comic book thing that has happened last year, permeating into this year. This is my favorite story that I've been following, and he's pretty much got it on Instagram, right? And
Yeah.
about four panels that he drops at a time. So you can call that a page, a couple times a week, right?
Oh yeah.
So so
I my one of my first interactions yesterday, besides saying hi to you and getting set up, Henry was in the other room. He came in and he saw me. He goes, "Hey Ryan." I was like, "Hey man." And I ran up to him. He's like, "Man, I like what you're doing with those comic stories." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. Fucking werewolf story, man. What is going on?"
yeah, we talked to him a little bit, and we're like, kind of like, oh, we're thinking the story could go this way, or the story could go
Oh,
that way. And I'm
and
not going to tell you much more about it if you haven't seen it.
yeah, go check it out. And he told me and I mean, I kind of had that feeling, but he's going total stream of consciousness on it. And but it doesn't read like it's so great. It's so great. I love it. It's funny. It's dramatic.
Yeah,
It's
and it
man,
makes you wonder.
it's so good. I can't wait. Anyway, yeah, no, it's for sure on Instagram. Me and Levi have talked about it a couple times just on the phone, like, man, where's he going with that fucking werewolf thing? Like, like, oh man, this is cool. Um, yeah, it's been one of my favorite things to follow.
Yeah,
So
and all
yeah.
of a sudden my mic got really loud in here.
Oh, I
So we'll
just got
have
loud.
so we'll have all their, like, at least their Instagrams in the bio in the about for this episode, so you can go find those great people. And there are more great people. We don't have time to talk about them right now, but what we
Nope.
do have time for is to give you the word of the day.
It's like several words. I don't even know.
The
Anyway.
the phrase of the day. Take it, Brian.
Thanks for joining us. Just do the damn thing.
Peace.